Good morning and welcome to the Premier Football Podcast. This week on the show, pressure builds at Old Trafford as Arteta's Arsenal see out a 1-0 win over Manchester United. Spurs jump to second in the table with a 2-1 win over Brighton. Liverpool hang on at the top and City see off Sheffield United with a 1-0 win. As always, I'm joined by Joe Doherty on the show. Joey, looking forward to this one?
Absolutely, Rafe. Yeah, in good spirits after the win last night. A little bit down as the world lost Sean Connery. As a huge James Bond fan, especially the early Bond films, that was left a sour taste in my mouth. But Arsenal perked me up on Sunday afternoon with a very good win at Old Trafford.
Yeah, it was an interesting weekend of football. Not a whole lot of results jumping off the page as we're going through them there. Not a whole lot of surprises. Obviously, we'll start with Arsenal and Manchester United. Did you expect Arsenal to win this game going into
it? Do you know what? I was expecting something like what we got. I thought it was maybe going to be a 0-0. I thought that both managers would want to keep it very tight at the back. That's just how Solskjaer approaches every big game, and Arteta approaches every game like that. So that was always going to happen, and they were going to. But when after 5 minutes, I was sure Arsenal were going to win. Because Man United were nowhere. Arsenal were just dominating. Arsenal played like the home team. United just sat back and let them have the ball. Arsenal obviously didn't play the Arsene Wenger way in bombing forward and overloading attacks. They were very cautious in their build-up play, but they did fashion a few chances in the first half. And I think that Arteta would have felt they should have been 1-0 up. United were better in the early stages of the second half, but then Arsenal regained control of the game. And Pogba's now given away 3 penalties in the league this season and in just 6 games. And the tackle on Bellerin was needless. He didn't need to make that challenge.
Apparently, he was out of breath from running so much. That's why he made the tackle.
Was he? Yeah, was he? I mean, how much does a Premier League midfielder run in a game? 10, 11K with a lot of them high sprints, and that was in the 70th minute. I don't think you have an excuse as a top Premier League player to be out of breath in the 70th minute. That's just nonsense. Clearly his fitness levels aren't what they should be if that's the case.
Solskjaer came out after the game and said that there was more contact down the other end of the pitch, I think on Nemanja Matic, than there was for the Arsenal penalty. How do you feel about
that? The big difference being that Gabriel got the ball.
Yeah.
See, if you play the ball first, you're entitled to get a bit of the man.
You don't think Pogba got a touch on the ball there, no?
No, he didn't. He didn't get a touch on the ball at all. He just clipped Bellerin's heel.
No, it was an awful tackle. He came straight in from the back. Solskjaer doesn't have a leg to stand on, and it really was an interview of a man that's growing increasingly kind of desperate, because that was an awful performance. And like you said, from the first 5 minutes, it was very, very clear that one team had a game plan and one team really didn't. I think I was sending a text during the game to say that United's only plan was to try transition quickly against Arsenal and try to do them on the break, but it meant keeping 11 men behind the ball for the best part of the game and then just kicking long balls. There weren't even eloquent diagonals in behind. It was literally just kick the ball as far as you can up the pitch and hope that your striker is a bit faster than the defender. It's the kind of stuff you'd see at under 10s football, and it's just not good enough for that level.
It's shocking. And you know what? They picked the completely wrong starting 11 to play that style of football. If you want to play like that, play Cavani as the 9 and play Rashford left and Greenwood right, either side of him, and then Bruno in behind that. And then you're able to have a focal point up front and have those quick runners in behind. But they didn't. They played with absolutely no width whatsoever. Like Shaw and Wan-Bissaka are almost allergic to getting to bombing forward. It's obviously different when Telles is playing on that left-hand side, but Luke Shaw is just, I don't know what it is. He's lost a bit of his pace, and I don't know if he doesn't trust himself to get back, but if you're playing with a diamond midfield, you absolutely have to have your fullbacks pushing on like mad. That's your only outlet of width. And Arsenal just took advantage of that both offensively and defensively in the game.
I don't think that Solskjaer wants to play the diamond in midfield, though. I think that's just been social media pressure and fan pressure to try accommodate Pogba into the team. He's not played well for a very long time. They're trying to put 2 creative midfielders in the team, in himself and Bruno Fernandes. They've dislodged Fernandes from where he was playing and where he was having success. And they've brought in Pogba again in a role that he doesn't seem to know what he was doing. Like I said to you this yesterday, the midfield didn't know where to stand in possession of the ball. They didn't know how to set up without the ball. When they did have the ball, they didn't know where they should be passing it. Once that first long ball was cut off, they had absolutely no idea, and they couldn't put 2 or 3 passes together. You could see them genuinely struggling to find 3 passes before they just lumped it, even if the pass wasn't on. And look, part of that is definitely the pressing game of Arsenal and the work that they do off the ball. And maybe there's a lot of credit due to Arteta there for that. But I mean, United's tactics are just appalling for the strength of the squad that they have. Like, they go to Everton next week, and if they don't win that game, I think Ole should go over the international break.
Mm. They'll have a decision to make, won't they? I mean, is his
they're 15th.
I know they are. They do have a game in hand, but that would bring them up to 13th, level on points with Crystal Palace. So it's not good. But is his saving grace the fact that they have been consistent in the Champions League? They've gone to Paris Saint-Germain. They've hosted RB Leipzig, the second best team in Germany second or third best team in Germany over the past few years, and they beat them both comfortably.
That's great. But United's business model is being in the Champions League every year, and they will not be in the Champions League next year if Solskjaer is the manager, because they're not going to win it.
I completely agree. They're not going to win it, and their league form is disastrous. And do you know what? They had that good win against Newcastle, didn't they? And
hang on, just listen to yourself. A good win against Newcastle.
No, I'm not giving Solskjaer credit. I'm just saying that their fans got a little bit. I'm going to say their fans got a little bit carried away. They went to PSG and won. They went to Newcastle and won 4-1, and then they beat RB Leipzig 5-0. So
but that PSG team excited about, are struggling to be top of the French league.
And if you look on paper, I was sending you text during the game. That PSG team were awful. I mean, beating Newcastle 4-1 is all right because Newcastle are pretty good defensively, and certainly beating RB Leipzig 5-0 is. But the way Leipzig play with their ridiculous high press is perfect for United because United can counter that. But when they come up against a team like Arsenal, who are just going to be cautious and bide their time and wait to craft themselves an opening, and first and foremost be compact at the back, United's game plan is useless. I mean, they didn't have a counter attack. There was one time where Rashford played a really neat through ball, a Kevin De Bruyne style ball through to Mason Greenwood, who hit it first time, and it was a good save by Leno. But that aside, they didn't trouble Leno, and they didn't pile on the pressure at all until the last 10 minutes. And even then, they were so pedestrian. And Arsenal had so many defensive players on at that point, but they were never getting through them.
Now, can I ask you a question? Because everything you've said about Manchester United is absolutely spot on. Arsenal are getting a lot of praise today for playing the same way that they've played every single week this year. When they win, the fans love it. It's sensible football. It's the right thing to do. It's keeping clean sheets. They've got the best defensive record in the league now. It's game management. It's clever tactics. But when they don't win, when they don't get that rub of the green, the Arsenal fans seem to be up in arms about it.
Yeah, I think that this is a very important point. But we also need to remember that Arteta is still finding his way. He's only 36, 37 years of age. He's not even been first team manager for a year. That'll be on the 21st of December or 23rd of December. But you're completely right.
Let's go back to Thursday.
So he's going to make mistakes.
Let's go back to Thursday in the Europa League.
Yeah.
You were texting me saying you were falling asleep nearly watching it because it was so dull and painful.
It was shocking, but then Arsenal got 2 quick goals just before half time. And in the second half, they got their confidence back and they only scored 1 more, but they had all of the ball. And it was a good practice. It was a good run out for the players on the pitch just to get some confidence playing some attacking football. What I'd been really disappointed with was going away to Manchester City, who were there for the taking and not applying pressure that could have forced them into making mistakes, like we did in the FA Cup. Going to Liverpool and not giving enough. And then, of course, the game against Leicester was the worst one. Hosting Leicester, who were depleted, and not being able to break them down. Just not putting Aubameyang in the positions that he's so lethal in. That was what was so frustrating. And there came a point in the Leicester game where Arteta should have just taken a point, because they were going to bring on Vardy and it was going to change. And they got hit on the counter attack. So he should have actually decided that that's not their night. Nothing's happening. So just take a point and move on. And it is frustrating.
Last thing before we move on, you were very critical of the bench that Arteta suggested. Now, obviously, they got the game won just in time. They had kind of gone into their second or third wave of pressure towards the end of the game when they did win the penalty. But look, they were fortunate that Pogba did dive in and make that mistake, because they didn't look like they were going to score from open play. I know they were creating chances, but they didn't look like their forwards were having a good day. And maybe we were looking to the bench thinking who's going to come on and who is going to change it here. No Reece Nelson, who looked pretty good midweek carrying the ball out of midfield, and no Joe Willock, who again looked good carrying the ball out of midfield.
Yeah, I would have had, instead of one of Xhaka or Ceballos, who are both central midfielders who don't like to push forward, I would have had Reece Nelson on the bench instead of one of them. You don't need to have two defensive mind. I know Ceballos is a ball player, but he just doesn't go forward. So you don't need to have two out-and-out central midfielders on the
Mustafi
bench.
was on the bench, but interesting enough, when Holden went off, it was Xhaka that came on. So
No, he didn't. Xhaka didn't. He was getting warmed up, but he didn't. And Holding actually ran off his injury.
Oh, did he?
Mustafi, yeah. Mustafi came on for Aubameyang in the last 5 minutes to see the game out. I think it's okay to have a centre back. I'd always have a centre back and a full back. And Maitland-Niles is a good pick because he can play in so many places. So it makes sense to have him on the bench. But to have two centre midfielders on the bench and only one winger and one striker is a bit defensive for my liking.
I suppose there's probably good options for Arsenal then to have so many players that should be so many good creative attacking players that do want to be on the bench that can't get a game. I suppose it creates a bit of competition within the squad, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Although recently the forwards have been so bad and there's been no changes. But I mean that obviously changed last night. I thought Willian was very good. Who's been getting a lot of criticism. He was excellent in the first half. He ran out of steam a little bit in the second, but
has Aubameyang done enough this year?
No, definitely not. But it's the first time that we've ever seen him, I'd say, across his Dortmund career and his Arsenal career, have a little bit of a dip. 5 games without a goal in the league is
obviously he got the penalty last night, but not scoring open play.
He should have had a couple. I mean, he could have had a couple from open play. He was missing chances, so it was important that he took the penalty away. So hopefully that gives him some confidence.
Okay, thanks. Well, look, we'll move across. Apologies. We'll move across North London, and Spurs up to second place in the league. A couple of big talking points actually coming out of this game. You were telling me that Jose Mourinho wasn't going to be happy with the Brighton goal being awarded because of the foul on Højbjerg in the build-up, which was a bit of a joke. But I think that Spurs can consider themselves very lucky to have been given their first penalty as well. And I feel like every week we spend more time talking about refereeing decisions than anything else. But the standard of refereeing at the English Premier League at the moment is an absolute joke. If you flick on to La Liga or if you flick on to Serie A, they seem to have it sorted. They don't have the same issues that we're having in England at the moment, do they?
No, they don't. What was the name of the referee last night? It's just gone out of my head, and I was just trying to search for him, but I couldn't think of what to type. But I mean, the call for the Harry Kane penalty was pretty farcical. Adam Lallana is obviously running in and makes an attempt to win the ball in the air, and Kane doubles back, checks to see where Lallana is, and then takes out his legs and just falls over and wins himself a very fortuitous penalty. But I think what was worse than that was the decision in the second half to let Brighton's goal stand when there's a clear foul on Højbjerg by Solly Marsh in the build-up. And the referee goes over to the monitor and has a really good look.
Yeah, we've not seen that before.
No, man, he spent about a minute looking at that challenge alone, and then he backed his decision. It was a clear foul. I think it was one of the worst refereeing performances in recent times, and that sort of thing has to result in being demoted to the Championship for a couple of weeks, doesn't it? Because it's just not good enough.
No, it's not. And I think normally when you're referred to the TV monitor, it's essentially the referee in the VAR box saying, "Mate, you've got this wrong, but I'm giving you a chance to redeem yourself here," you know? And it doesn't show courage to stick with your own decision. It just shows kind of stupidity and naivety, because there clearly is a foul that someone else has seen, and he's given him a lifeline to say, "Look, get yourself out of trouble here," and he's not done it. But I want to go back again to the Lallana and Kane challenge for the first one. We saw something similar with Fabinho and who was it, the Brighton forward, McGoldrick, was it? Or Ollie Burns for the penalty, where they came back to see where the foul was. Was it in the box or was it outside the box? And they've not actually checked to see if it's a foul. And I think both times they've got it wrong. I mean, what Kane has done to Lallana, he's really endangered his safety. Like it's not even like he's bought himself a foul. He's really endangered the safety of a fellow professional. Lallana's up midair, and Kane's come through the bottom of him and taken his legs out from underneath. Like if you were to do that in a rugby game, you'd be sent off for a dangerous tackle, you know. And there's a lot more contact in rugby than there is in football. The way Lallana's landed it is on the back of his shoulders, and his head's come down on top of the ground as well. I can't stress how dangerous that is to do, to take the bottom out from somebody while they are midair like that. Like if you did that to a goalkeeper up the other end of the pitch, you'd definitely be booked for coming through the bottom of them. And it just doesn't make sense that these people are there watching these events back on replays. It's not like, oh, you know, the referees don't get as many replays as we can. You can clearly see Kane check his shoulder twice. He knows exactly what he's doing. He knows exactly where Lallana is. And he endangers his safety and potentially even his life, because they can go really, really badly when you come down and land on the top part of your body. Like that could be his career over. But somehow he's managed to come away with a penalty for it.
It's not the first time he's done that as well, is it? He's making a habit out of winning fouls like this across the pitch, and it's clearly something that he's worked on. Like, I'm not just upset. Him, or if it's him and Mourinho's obviously the ultimate footballing Machiavellian, win at all costs type. So
look, I'm not upset with the winning, the buying of free kicks and the buying of fouls. Like, and I'm not even.
But when it's like this, man, when you're endangering the
that's it. But the referees have got to see it. They looked at it on the TV. They looked back at these replays and deemed that this was okay. How?
But what they didn't check for that. They only checked, which is just ludicrous. They only checked to see whether it was inside the box or whether it was outside the box, to see whether they were going to award a free kick or a penalty. It's really poor, because when you see something so obvious but you haven't used the technology for that specific purpose, and to not use it for that when you see something so obvious is just shocking.
Look,
that obviously needs to change.
Let's move away from the refereeing decisions that are stressing us out and enjoy Gareth Bale for a moment on a second game back. Obviously grabbing the late winner with his head across from Reguilon, the Madrid connection there. A goal that we can't talk about decisions. It was a good ball in, a quick turnover, and a great finish, fitting of winning a game. And they do look like a threat now, Spurs, don't they? With these attacking options coming off the bench, they have the luxury of bringing Gareth Bale off the bench to pop up and score late winners for them.
Yeah, they do. There's obviously a question mark, I think, as to what role Bale can play. He's not his explosive pass, and he doesn't have that turn of pace. However, in the box, he's a lethal finisher, and he's always been good in the air. And that was a great header. That is, if anyone wants to learn how to score a header from across, just watch that, because that is inch perfect.
But more than just his playing ability, he's a winner, man. He's a man for the big moments. He's done it. He's won 2 Champions League finals with late goals. You know, he loves that big moment at the end of a game. If you want a chance to fall to somebody, I know he blew it last week when he could have burst back on the scene and you know, he got himself in that position. But 9 times out of 10, last minute of a game, Gareth Bale through on goal, you expect him to score and win it.
Yeah, you do. It's not just with Real Madrid, but in his last couple of seasons with Spurs, he was their main man, and he was always how many times, certainly in his last season, did he pop up in the last 10 minutes with a winner and an important equalizer. So yeah, no, you'd expect him to grab a few more of those over the course of the season. And
are you worried now that Spurs might be building a winning mentality? You know, that you talked about Jose Mourinho and his win at all costs, and Gareth Bale coming in now. I don't think that we saw your face there on camera. You grimaced as I suggested that Spurs might be developing a winning mentality.
No, I don't. I think time will tell. I think that to suggest that right now is an insane thing to suggest, because look how they capitulated against West Ham. Was it last week or 2 weeks ago?
Midweek as well, going down in the Europa League.
They lost to Royal Antwerp 1-0, who are not even the best team in the Belgian league, and the Belgian league is not a very good football.
What did you make of Jose Mourinho's Instagram post after that, looking sad on the bus?
Oh, I loved it. Mourinho is is my favorite manager for those sort of things. He's very, very funny.
He said that the players have made it very easy for him. He knows who not to pick in future.
Yeah, one particular player springs to mind, but I think across that second string team, if you can, the one that he put out in the Europa League, I mean, it's the team that he's picking in the Premier League is they seem to have a different mentality than to that in the Europa League. It's full of the workaholics, if you will, the likes of Højbjerg and Sissoko. And actually, do you know what? I was going to say Ndombele, but I thought he was awful yesterday. And he was rightly taken off for Lo Celso, who looked who's obviously a much more creative player. But Ndombele he was back to his lazy self. Do you remember how lazy he was last season? He was like that yesterday. He was really bad. He let the team down in the midfield because Brighton were kind of swarming them in the 10 minutes before.
Yeah, but Brighton are high energy normally. So, I mean, you've got to be honest.
They're a good team. Yeah, no, they're a good team. And they didn't fashion too many chances for themselves, and obviously there are question marks over their goals. So you have to say that Spurs were good value for their win in the end. But Brighton are a good team, and but again they've only won one match and they're in 16. So and they've 2 draws in their last 5. That's not great, is it? But no. They look decent, I suppose, is what we're saying.
Let's jump across the capital. Chelsea. Another clean sheet for them. I think that's 3 or 4 in a row now. We have obviously been very critical of how Frank Lampard has coached the team and how they've set up in defence. Do you think that there have been some real improvements there? Sorry, or do you think that it's just maybe the run of games that they've had?
I've obviously been critical of Lampard and his neglect of the defence, but I think he was very sensible in how he set up against Manchester United at Old Trafford, because he didn't allow them to hit them on the break. He took the point from quite an early stage. They were content to take the point. I don't think playing Burnley and keeping a clean sheet is anything to write home about.
Since they drew 3-3 with Southampton on the 17th of October, they drew 0-0 at home with Sevilla. They drew 0-0 away with Manchester United. They beat Krasnodar 4-0 away in the Champions League group stage, and they beat Burnley 3-0 at home. There's clear improvements, but like I said, the United game and the Sevilla game, there was a clear emphasis on do not concede. So credit where credit's due. They did that. That was success. Krasnodar are not a great side, and Burnley are, in my opinion, the worst side in the Premier League. So I don't think that there can be, come on, this is Chelsea Football Club. They should be putting a really poor Burnley side away 3-0 with the attacking talent that they have. Of course they should. They should. And we always associate, I think, Chelsea with strong defensive performances. That's you talk about the club's DNA, and I think that has been in part of Chelsea's DNA since Jose Mourinho took over for that first spell.
They in his second season in charge, when they won the title, they conceded just 15 goals in 38 games. The best defensive record, the best return ever in terms of goals conceded. So no, I don't think we can get too carried away with Chelsea about them not conceding to Burnley. But in regards to the Sevilla and United games, credit where credit's due.
Very good going forwards again, and I suppose when it does click for them at the back, they're not going to have too many issues going forwards and scoring goals. We did see them struggle against Sevilla and United, but against those teams that don't have any quality at the back, and maybe I'm being a little bit disrespectful to Burnley, but I mean they're all over the shop this season. But when they do come up against teams that there are holes there to exploit, they will exploit them, won't they?
Yeah, they will. I mean, Ziyech looks a very good player. I think in the last couple of games, I've been more impressed with him than I have with Havertz. And Werner continues to be very good.
He's almost a forgotten man, isn't he? Because he was signed still during last season, wasn't he? And he was the first one. Yeah, but he obviously didn't make any appearances last year. And then there was no talk of him over the summer because he was injured. And he hasn't really... He's fallen off the radar till he's come back to fitness over the last couple of weeks. And I think did he get a goal and a couple of assists midweek, and then he was back on it again at the weekend. How important do you think he could be for them?
Absolutely vital, because, having him fully fit means that they never have to play Kai Havertz on the wing, because Ziyech is always going to play right wing. I think there are question marks over him, considering the fact that he is in the later stages of his career. He's 28 and he's moving from Ajax. And although he's done very well for Ajax and he looked excellent in the Champions League for Ajax when they got to the semi-finals, that's a bit of a risk.
But I suppose they need a few senior forwards in the team, don't they? Because they had a very young team last year. And you talk about playing Kai Havertz on the wing. They were playing Mason Mount on the wing for large parts of last year and even early this season as well. So I'm just thinking, what does Chelsea's best attacking lineup look like right now? Is it Pulisic on one side, Havertz in behind Werner and Ziyech on the other side?
Yeah, definitely. Pulisic is injured, isn't he? So that's why Werner was playing left wing and Abraham was playing through the middle. But
yeah,
I think that they probably made a good decision to bring Werner in and to kind of make Tammy Abraham second choice striker. He's obviously decent and he had a good season last season, but there's a clear gap in quality between Werner and himself. But they look very good going forward, and Ziyech is a great signing. He looks really good early on.
Do you have faith that they'll finish in the top 4 now?
No, it's a long season. And everyone has their work cut out for them.
Currently 6th, 12 points off 7 games. Behind Wolves, ahead of Arsenal, or level with Arsenal, just ahead on goal difference. How do you see it shaping up now at the top, Joe? If I had to put you on the spot.
Gun to the head, Rafe, and you ask me this pretty much every week. It's difficult to call. I think we're probably looking at Liverpool, Manchester City. I'm going to put Arsenal in there because I think Arsenal's defensive stability and the fact that they have good attacking players going forward is going to be.
You're leaving out one of Spurs and Chelsea. Then look, we're both going to leave United out at this stage.
Yeah, I think so, and I'm gonna go with one of Spurs or Chelsea. I'd probably go with Spurs ahead of Chelsea, but that could be me being not naive.
I think it'll be very interesting between those 3 London teams. I think that the race for the capital is really on, and there's really an exciting mini battle kind of going on in the city, because it does look like Liverpool will be. Look, we know Liverpool will be up there somewhere.
I think Liverpool are going to win the league. They have their mentality is they keep playing averagely and they keep on finding a way.
And this is what we said about last year.
Yeah, no, it's like Manchester United under Alex Ferguson, and to believe me that that 7-2 to Aston Villa, that was just a freak blip. They won't lose many other games.
Are you convinced that Manchester City are going to finish in the top 4?
Yes, because they're good enough. They're good enough. What I think really lets City down, aside from their defense, is the fact that, and maybe we can move on to them now.
Yeah, I was going to say.
It's the fact that they don't have any backup for Aguero. I know Jesus is out, but I don't think he's adequate backup. And they played Ferran Torres through the middle against Sheffield United, and his movement was great, but his finishing is not, because he's not a striker. And it's the same with Raheem Sterling. Have Sterling, exactly. And it's the same it would be the same if they put Mahrez there. These guys are good at Torres is not a goal scorer, but Sterling and Mahrez are good at scoring from wide positions because they're wingers. But they're not good at scoring as a centre forward because they're not centre forwards, and they're not going to be in the position. They're not poachers. Like, think of Aguero, how many goals he scores from inside the
6-yard box.
Inside the 6-yard box as well. He's just always in the right place at the right time because that's what he does. And they do not have an adequate substitute for that. So in my opinion, they should have beaten Sheffield United about 4 or 5-1. The amount of good chances that they fashioned for themselves. So they're creating as many chances as ever. It's just the fact that they don't have the players there to put the ball in the back of the net.
You say that they should have beaten them more comfortably, but I mean, Sheffield United had chances. And I think you could consider City actually lucky to come away with 3 points, considering that they didn't score more and they didn't put that game to bed.
I don't think so, because if we're talking about the amount of chances that City had comparison to Sheffield United, it was a big difference. Sheffield United had a really good chance late in the game where Sander Berg did a great piece of skill, got it through on the right hand side of the box and pulled it back, and John Lundstrom just skied his effort. If his technique is sound there, that's an equalizer and a very, very good point for them. But
that's what I'm trying to say. If you don't put the game to bed, you're leaving it open for teams to snatch points off you at the end of the game.
You're completely right. And I mean, going back to the Arsenal game, Arsenal should have been braver because Sheffield United showed that they're weak at the back. They're lacking there, even though they had. I know they didn't have Mendy fit, but the rest of their defenders playing were their first choice.
Like none of City's forwards scored or assisted attackingly. It was a long shot from their right back that ultimately won them the game. And I'm not convinced. Every week when I see them, they drop points against teams that they should be in games that they should be winning. I'm just Guardiola's out of contract at the end of the season.
Yeah, he is.
Does it look like this City team is coming to the end of an era? Do they need a rebuild? Do they need fresh blood? Do they need what do they need, Joe?
Badly. I think something like Aguero is so good, but not necessarily sure that he should be the first choice striker anymore. I mean, they should have brought in the next one.
Well, they thought they did with Jesus, though, didn't they?
But Jesus is clearly not the next one. I think that a year into his spell at Manchester City, that was clear. He had a really good first 6 months after he signed in January, and then at the start of the next season, it was clear that he wasn't up to the task. But yes, the strange thing is they keep on spending tons of money, but they're not plugging all of the right holes. And I don't know. I feel like they've got it wrong with Rodri. They've got it wrong with Jesus. And those are two really important positions. I mean, the spine of the team isn't quite right. Time will tell if Ruben Diaz is the long-term partner for Aymeric Laporte. Like, Laporte is the one they got right in regards to the spine. But like that defensive midfield position that's causing them problems as well, because Rodri is not the one to replace.
Let's talk facts, as Rafa would say. Going back over the last month or so, they were obviously battered by Leicester 5-2 at home. In the league, then their next game was Leeds away. They drew that game 1-1 in a game that they definitely could have lost. They beat Arsenal 1-0 in a game that you're saying Arsenal should have taken points. They drew 1-0.
Well, no, I'm saying no. Arsenal effectively fucked themselves over. They didn't go for it when they should have gone for it. But off the course of the 90 minutes, City were good value for the win, but Arsenal should have taken the game to them.
West Ham dropping points again, 1-1. Sorry, I know West Ham have been good, but we saw Liverpool over the weekend put them away despite them being good, because Liverpool are on top. Even though they're missing key players, they have enough there to get the job done. 1-0 against Sheffield United, a team that have got 1 point from 7 games this season. And I know, again, they've been playing better than their results suggest, but like Manchester City going to a poor Sheffield United, previously in years gone by, we would have seen them putting 5 or 6 past them.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. Like I said, they didn't have their first choice striker on the pitch, and their makeshift striker didn't take his chances. Like with City, if they win their game in hand, they're second. They don't have as good a goal difference as Spurs. They're third, they're joint second. So it's not all doom and gloom, and I really expect them to be. Man City haven't finished outside the top 4 since they first broke into it in 2009-10 when Liverpool missed out, when they finished 7th in Rafa's last season. So, that's 10 years consistency in the top 4. They're going to be there again, I assure you.
Okay, thanks. Well, look, we will go back to Liverpool now, who obviously did see out a 2-1 win over West Ham with that late Diogo Jota goal. He's got 3 goals now in 3 Anfield appearances, which is as many, I think, as Firmino has managed since the start of last season.
Yeah, I think that they have a really big decision to make on Firmino, and I've been saying it to you for a few weeks. In my opinion, the strongest front 3 or 4 Liverpool could put together right now: Mane through the middle, Salah from the right, and then Jota from the left. Even Shaqiri looked so good coming on and playing in behind, and his through ball for Jota's winner was absolutely superb. So I would probably put him. Liverpool fans will think I'm an idiot for saying this, but I prefer to have him in than Firmino. I don't get the Firmino thing. I know that he works very hard and his sprints are usually very, very high, but this season there's been a clear drop off in that department, and he hasn't improved on his goal scoring record. He has 1 goal all season in all competitions. It's just not good enough. And
he has 2.
No, he has 1.
Firmino.
Yeah,
he's got 2.
He has 1 in the league.
He scured. Oh, sorry, maybe one was in the cup.
Did he score the Champions League?
He's got 2 Anfield goals.
Okay.
He scored in the
Okay.
Champions League midweek, I think.
Okay. But anyway, Jota has come in and he looks lethal. He's getting in the right places all of the time. He obviously had a goal ruled out, and I think that was fair enough. Mane went in with his studs, and you can't do that when you're challenging anyone, let alone the goalkeeper. But Jota again, I mean, that's 2 winners in a row in the league. He popped up with a header last week against West Ham, and
West Ham at the weekend, yeah.
last week. Yeah, last weekend, yeah, and then again today. Sorry,
West Ham this weekend.
Sorry, yeah, no, it was Sheffield United 2 weeks ago. Last week and West Ham this week. Yeah, that was it. My bad. But I mean, case in point being, he is the man in form, and he keeps on bailing Liverpool out. And I think he's been a brilliant signing. And he has to be. I think he should be starting games. I think if you consistently coming off the bench, Liverpool had it years ago with Ryan Babel. He used to come off the bench and he used to score.
You have not just compared Diogo Jota to Ryan Babel.
I countless times, especially in the Champions League, Ryan Babel would be put on for Liverpool with about half an hour to go, and he'd smack the ball in from far out. I can't believe that you don't remember this. And he'd never get a look in. Rafa always started Yossi Benayoun ahead of him, who never scored.
Yeah, I mean, Babel did score some great goals, but he was by no means the complete player that Diogo Jota
he was wildly inconsistent in his all
massively. There was a reason he wasn't starting.
But he was like Nicolas Pepe. Like he didn't have a footballing brain, but he was capable of a.
I think Jota will begin to start more games as he becomes more familiar with the formations and the patterns. And we saw this last year with Fabinho, where it took a while for Klopp to introduce the signing into the team, because he's very set in how he wants things to be and how he wants his passes to go. And look, obviously Jota is getting the goals, and I think we will see him come into the team. I don't think there's any.
Who misses out? Who misses out?
It depends on the shape he wants to play, and I think that he'll actually change the system depending on who the opposition is, depending on whether they want to have more of the ball, whether they want to be more direct. He's played around a lot with the 4-2-3-1 or the whatever you want to call it. He's moved away slightly from the 4-3-3 maybe to a 4-4-2 or a 4-2-3-1, and he's played Firmino and Jota as strikers, or he's played Firmino in behind Salah with Jota on one wing. And he's obviously kept Shaqiri on midweek as well. He has options, and I think maybe we might see a gradual rotation of players. I don't think it's always going to be the same person missing out. I think we might see Mo Salah get the odd rest. He might miss 1 in 4 games, and Sadio Mane might miss 1 in 4. Firmino might miss 2 in 5. Jota might miss 1 in 5, and they'll roll it. We might even see Firmino playing more games in midfield as Liverpool prepare to lose Gini Wijnaldum and James Milner next summer.
Do you think Wijnaldum's definitely going?
Yeah, he's not signing a new deal, man. He's not signing a new deal.
I think if it passes January, then he will go. But we saw last season, Alderweireld left it very late. He signed in January with just 6 months left. It happens.
I don't think Wijnaldum is going to sign a new contract at Liverpool, especially not with the midfield options they've been bringing in.
He wants assurances that they're not able to give him, right?
Essentially, yeah. He wants to be playing football every week, and when the football club are signing the likes of Thiago Alcantara in your position, I think that you're not going to get game time every single week.
Yeah, no, it's only natural. But I mean, it's like what City do. City have always rotated. Like for fantasy football enthusiasts, Pep Guardiola is everyone's worst enemy, because Raheem Sterling will be in blistering form, kind of 4 in his last 4, and then all of a sudden he'll be on the bench, and half of the fantasy teams will have captained him. So yeah, you need to have that strength and depth, and Liverpool haven't had it with their front three, and now they clearly do with Jota. He's a great signing.
Yeah, for sure. And even to go back to the other side of the pitch as well, obviously, look, they conceded again, and in Nat Phillips's first in his Premier League debut, I was really impressed with him. But I still worry about their defence, because if you had told me at the start of the game that one of the centre backs, unchallenged, was going to head the ball to an oncoming attacker on the edge of the box, and allow them to get a shot away, I would have told you it was going to be Joe Gomez, and that's what I'm worried about, that he's going to be playing every single game this year. And Klopp can talk him up as much as he wants, and the Liverpool fans can praise him as much as they want on social media, but he is the weak link in this Liverpool team right now. It's not whoever plays beside him. It's not Fabinho or Nat Phillips or Reece Williams or Henderson or Matip or whoever. It's Joe Gomez is the weak link, and he always will be so long as he's in that team.
You have it here, ladies and gentlemen. Rafe Garland is Joe Gomez out. Sell Joe Gomez ASAP. No, I know. I kind of agree with you. I think he's not quite that. And
look, he's not
relying on. Well, the thing is, he looks good. He looks better next to Van Dijk because Van Dijk coaches him through the game.
I think either of us could play next to Van Dijk in the Premier League.
I think we probably could. just listen to him. Just play it simple. Take the man out when we need to. Win the balls in the air. Pass it to him. You know, that's it.
And look,
that's essentially
it.
it.
I'm not having a complete go of Joe Gomez. His range of passing is phenomenal, and he has done that while Van Dijk is gone. He's starting the attacks. He's growing into that attacking role where he's playing the crossfield balls, looking for Trent on the right, those diagonals that we do associate with Van Dijk, and he's doing that part of the game well. And obviously it's a big ask for him to step up and be the leader as well, but he's just always got just a sloppy piece of work in him, you know, just to not do the job properly. When the ball comes into the box, head it back to where it came from. Don't knot it down onto the edge of the box to nobody.
He is. I get you, and I agree with you. The one thing I will say is that he is young.
But he's not that young.
How is he, 22, 23?
I think he's 23, 24, Joe. And he's been part of that first team for 4 or 5 years now. I know he had a bad injury, but he was signed back at the start of the Klopp era. I think he was.
Yeah, he was. Even Brendan Rodgers. I think didn't Brendan Rodgers sign him?
Yeah. So
he's 23, man. He's 23.
He's been at that football team for a long time. He's the same age as Nat Phillips, who was playing beside him, obviously making his debut, but he's so much more experienced than that. And if you were to ask me which one of those players had been playing in Liverpool first team for 5 years, I would have said Nat Phillips.
Yeah. This is crazy that Nat Phillips, 20, Liverpool, and they had Pedro Chiravella, who was like 23, 24, but he never played except for the under 23s. And the same with Nat Phillips. That's really weird.
The thing about Nat Phillips is actually, this is funny as well. He's not in the Champions League squad. He's 23, so he's too old to appear in the Champions League. He can be added after the group stages, I think. Obviously, they'll take Van Dijk out and put him in, but it'll be Reece Williams again who plays in the Champions League, and we might see this as part of as a feature for the next few weeks, where Reece Williams plays the Champions League games midweek, and then Nat Phillips will play the Premier League games, because Reece Williams is young enough not to be needed to be named in the Champions League squad.
Yeah, no, I understand that. It's just so strange. You don't see that in football very often, that you have players like that not getting any first team appearances until they're 23. That's really strange. You see it in cricket and rugby, but not in football. That is mad.
Well, look, I'll tell you what, I'm happy he's there anyway. I didn't know he was.
Absolutely, it's another body.
He had a blinder the other night. Big, strong, commanding centre half. Didn't put a foot wrong. Man of the match, I think. Look, that I think that calmed a lot of Liverpool nerves. But who knows? Maybe we'll see a Nat Phillips, Reece Williams partnership if Joe Gomez continues in his current form. I think he's better off as a fullback, to be honest, than as a centre back. But sure, look, that the jury's still out. Man, we're running out of time so quickly here. So I'm going to move on. 4, 5. We did that. Everton, Newcastle. Everton's change team aren't good enough, you know, for all the praise we gave them early on. Their starting 11 is fantastic, and they probably will be in and around the Europa League spots come the end of the season once they have their first team back firing. But if they're missing 2 or 3 starters, they're a totally different outfit, aren't they? And
this is the thing. Ancelotti rested James Rodriguez. He said he's played every game so far and he needs to give him a rest. I mean, come on. I know he didn't play much football. He hasn't played much football over the last couple of seasons, but that's really worrying if you're 7 games in and you're demanding a rest. Yeah,
apparently he's struggling with a testicle injury that he picked up in the Liverpool game.
Really?
Yeah, so I mean, I wouldn't be too keen on playing through a testicle injury, to be honest.
No, neither would I. But Ancelotti didn't say that in his press conference. He said that he's played every game so far and he needs to have a rest. So, he also said the week before that he was injured and that he wouldn't be taking any part, and that he started them. So I think Ancelotti's playing mind games with some people, and he's trying to maybe
I don't know, take some of the pressure off his players. But I mean, in a game that you're missing two of your most creative players in Dina and Richarlison through suspension, I think that you've got to be doing everything you can. I don't think that's a chance for you to rest your most creative player then. So I'd be really surprised if that was a rest, especially considering that next week's the last week before the international break.
Exactly. And Newcastle looked decent. They dominated the game, and Callum Wilson is a very good signing, popping up with a double. He scores goals at this level, doesn't he?
Well, that's it. I think he's up there with top goals and assists this season in the Premier League, and he's done it. Yeah, he's done it time and again in for Bournemouth over the years in a really poor Bournemouth team. I think there was only one season, his last season, that he didn't really register those goals and assists. But yeah, man, he's playing his way back into contention for the England side, if you ask me, because that Newcastle team really isn't great, and he seems to be getting involved almost every single week.
Yeah.
I think England are blessed with the options that they have going into the European Championship this summer.
Another great English striker, if we can move on to a Southampton game, Danny Ings scoring an absolute worldie. Cutting it. Cristiano Ronaldo would be happy with this goal, cutting in from the left-hand side and whipping it into the top right-hand corner, top bins. And obviously another Englishman, James Ward-Prowse, with 2 free kick goals. David Beckham would have been proud of both of them. They were fantastic strikes, especially the first one.
I think the second one was better, man. The second one, he was so close, and he's gone
close,
the other side of the goal.
Yeah,
and it was his birthday as well, and he got an assist.
It was, yeah. No, he had a great game, and he's a regular in the England squad. He's a regular in the squad, but he never gets a game, and if he does, it's kind of a substitute appearance in a friendly.
England picking the likes of Harry Winks over him on just purely because of the club that he plays for, it doesn't sit right with me. You know, the likes of Declan Rice even getting in the team. James Ward-Prowse is the most consistent centre midfielder, the English centre midfielder after Jordan Henderson. And he has been for years. He does not have a bad game. He does not put a foot out of place. He demands more from everybody around him. He makes good decisions every single game. Since Hasenhüttl has taken over as well, I think he scored 15 goals. He's added goals to his game. He's added assists. I think he's developed so much as a player over the last couple of years as well. And he's still relatively young, isn't he?
Is he 27, 28?
I mean, he's got a lot of time left. I know he's been playing senior football for a long time now, but
26. Yeah, he has got a lot of time left. Yeah, 26. Yeah.
I mean, surely he's the kind of guy that Gareth Southgate can trust to put in a performance. You know,
he's a leader as well, man. He's a leader as well, and he's got great technique, which always helps.
And he's box to box as well, man. He's a proper midfielder. You know, he's not a defensive midfielder, or he's not a number 10. He will go box to box for you. He can do everything.
Yeah, he's a reasonably similar player to Jordan Henderson, I think, in regards to the high energy. When Henderson plays as an 8,
I think Henderson's a little bit more physical, and I think that Ward-Prowse is a little more technical. But I think that they complement each other really, really nicely. I think that they love playing together as well, because they're both very structured in what they do, and they're both communicators as well. I think they'd have a brilliant partnership, but I don't think it'll ever happen because Southgate picks his boys, and that's it, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Let's talk about Aston Villa very quickly. Jack Grealish was good again. It was maybe missing for periods of the game though. Villa look good going forwards, but they're back to their old ways at the back. Apparently, the last maybe 2 or 3 games they've been leaking goals after that brilliant start that they had.
Well, they can't defend set pieces. I mean, Yannick Vestergaard scored a great header, but he also had a header ruled out just a few minutes before that for offside.
Yeah,
it was pretty touch and go. It was just his shoulder offside, but obviously we're giving those these days. But Villa looked very shaky at the back, and they didn't start playing until the game was dead and buried. So, you know, fair play to them for making some sort of a comeback and only losing 4-3 instead of 4-0. But the game was gone by the time they started to play.
Yeah, and you talk about not defending set pieces, but they also, for a team that can't defend set pieces, they give away way too many free kicks at the end of their own box.
Yeah, for sure. And when you have a player like James Ward-Prowse in the opposing team who's going to be hitting direct free kicks on target and finding his man with indirect free kicks, you're going to have a bit of an issue, aren't you?
For sure. Look, the last game we want to talk about, I think, is Wolves Palace. Another comfortable win for Wolves, another clean sheet. that machine keeps on going. We weren't sure about them at the start of the year. We were saying that maybe they'd suffered a bit of a fall off, but we compared it to last season with the Europa League, the amount of games that they played. They did have a ropey start last year, and then they did start to build on it. They're up to fifth now. I think they've got the most clean sheets in the league. Maybe Arsenal do. I'm not sure. But I think you said it to me. Once they take the lead, they don't give it up, do they?
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I said. They got two early goals, two very good goals. And I think we also need to stress that Wolves have changed their squad around. They've let key players go in Matt Doherty and Diogo Jota, and they look the same, if not a little bit more structured as well, which is crazy. Nelson Semedo looks really good, and then Podence looks absolutely fantastic. Jota is a better player than anyone than either the Neto or Podence, but if the right offer comes in, you have to take it. And he obviously felt he had enough cover, Nuno, and he wanted to give these guys a chance and let them be the future of the club.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that the system at Wolves is so important as well. No, we don't normally see them scoring first half goals. Obviously, they went and took the game to Crystal Palace, but with Wolves, 9 times out of 10, you know that they're going to work hard in the first half. They're going to stay tight. They're going to make sure that they don't concede early on in the game. And then late on, they're going to bring on the likes of Adama Traore and Potence or whoever it is on the bench. And they're going to go and look to kill it off towards the end. We see them scoring countless goals in the last 10 minutes of the game. But yeah, look, they got it done early over the weekend. And I suppose is it what we expect from Crystal Palace? Some weeks they're going to be good. Some weeks they're just not going to be at it.
Yeah, obviously player for player and tactician for tactician, Wolves are a cut above them, significantly a cut above them. They've proven that over the last 2 years, and it was pretty straightforward for Wolves. Palace didn't do too much, and like we said, once Wolves get themselves into a lead, especially a 2-goal lead, they just shut up shop. They're so difficult to break down at the best of times, but they were impossible to break down on Friday evening for Palace, and they just had too much for them.
Okay, look, 2 games tonight, Monday Night Football. Fulham host West Brom in a real relegation 6-pointer, if we can say that after 6 games in game week 7. I think this is a tough one to call, to be honest, mate. I know that you're leaning towards Fulham, but I mean they're just so bad at the back that I can see this going either way.
But yeah, so could I. But both teams are bad at the back. But I think Fulham have more quality going forward in Lookman and Mitrovic, so that's what's leading me towards a Fulham win. I think that they'll get their first 3 points, and it'll be a long, hard season for both of these clubs now. Let's make no mistake about that.
We talk about 2 teams that can't defend. You say that Fulham have a bit more attacking power. We know that West Brom have the likes of Pereira in midfield who can be very creative, especially with the amount of space that Fulham might leave. Is this game set up for a 0-0?
No, I don't think so. The defending, both teams like to attack as well. Both Parker and Bilic are progressive managers, so
they do.
I'd be absolutely shocked if it was a 0-0.
I can see there being some nerves in the air in Craven Cottage this evening, to be honest. I don't think that this is a game that either of these teams can afford to lose. I think they've both only got 1 point on the board so far. And
for Fulham, man, at home, you have to be beating the teams around you if you want to have any chance of staying up.
But you know what? You also can't lose to them.
Yeah, you can't. But I mean,
early on in the season, you cannot stay up now, but you can definitely get yourself in a position that you're going to go down.
Yeah, that's true. You're right.
After an hour, if neither team is winning this game, I think they're both. No, maybe I could be wrong. I know that. I just think this is the way it tends to go when we look at 2 teams that are attacking on paper, that play free flowing forward football. I don't know, Monday nights, man. There's something about the early kickoff on a Monday night that just doesn't inspire me. There's going to be goals.
Yeah, I think there'll be goals, but yeah, I see your point.
The game that I'm sure you are looking forward to this year. I know that Leeds have become your second team this year. I know that you watch them every single week. I know that you love Marcelo Bielsa. I know that you've got a lot of time for Brendan Rodgers as well and how he sets up. I think this is one that you're really looking forward to, is it?
I am, man. I was really looking forward to Leeds taking on Aston Villa last weekend as well, and last Friday night, and it lived up to the hype. It was a great game. I think this will be a better game because Leicester are a much better side than Aston Villa. Brendan Rodgers is an elite level coach, in my opinion. Jamie Vardy is a world-class striker. I think that Leicester will cause Leeds problems, but I also think that Leeds will cause Leicester problems. So Bielsa only knows how to play one way. I worry for Leeds being so expansive and having Vardy for Leicester on the counter-attack. I should have brought him into my fantasy team. He should be in my fantasy team. He should be in everyone's fantasy team because he's a quality striker. But yeah, really looking forward to this game, and I think there'll be goals. I think Leicester could edge it 3-2.
Is Patrick Bamford going to score again?
Yeah, I think he might. I think he's actually decent, and I think his hat-trick will give him a lot of confidence going into the rest of the season.
He cannot stop scoring for a man that's really meant to be not so good at scoring goals. He just cannot stop.
Yeah, is it 6 and 7 now?
It's a ridiculous.
Very good return. Yeah.
Who's going to win it?
Yeah, like I said, Leicester 3-2. That's my prediction, because Leeds will just be. I think Leicester are a more patient side than Leeds. Leeds are all, Bielsa only knows how to play one way, and I think that Leicester will be able to hit them on the break a couple of times.
I don't know, man. Maybe it's just my own mood. I'm feeling a bit gloomy about tonight's football. I think it's going to be a draw again. I think we're going to get 2 draws tonight. I think we're going to have 0-0 in the first game and 2-2 in the second game.
Yeah,
I'm positioning myself squarely on the fence for this evening, because
a 2-2 draw would be fine in the second game. I'd be happy with that. 4 goals would be. I'm sure the second game will be a great game of football. I can't wait for it.
Is this a game that Leicester need to win, Joe?
Let me just have a quick look at the table, Rafe.
To put down a marker for where they want to be. I mean, they want to be beating mid-table sides, don't they?
Yes, man. This will move them to second place on 15 points. That'd be a fantastic result. And just a few weeks ago, we were saying, you and I were certainly saying, Leicester won't be able to hack it. I was going to do a feature on Leicester not being able to hack it in the Premier League. I'm so glad I didn't, because I want to do a feature on Jamie Vardy now and talk about how good he is. But
they weren't anywhere near our top 4 discussions earlier on in the show.
No, they weren't. Let's see how the season pans out. I think it might be a tough ask for them to finish in the top 4 with the Europa League.
Do you know what, mate? I'll make you a promise. I won't ask you about the top 4 next week. I'll give it till the international break before we start up that again.
I appreciate that, man. Yeah, maybe give it to 10 games played and we might have a clearer idea of how things are going to shape up.
Right. Well, look, man, I've had a ball today, as always, talking ball with you. Is there anything that you'd like the folks at home to do?
Lads and lasses, thanks very much for watching. As always, don't forget to smash a like on the video, share the content around, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Let us know your thoughts on the show. What would you like us to talk about in the future? Hit the comment section with that info, and subscribe to our socials as well. We're on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook.
Thank you very much.